I know you're not like nerdy like me. This is weird. No one puts mom first in the ancient world. Nobody. Nobody said women could own property until God said it. No one said this. It was all about dad. If it just says that, it looks like the Babylonians wrote it. It looks like the Assyrians wrote it. It looks like the Samaritans wrote it. But this looks like God wrote it. Each of you must respect your mother and father, and you must observe the Sabbath, which was last week. I am the Lord your God. So it talks about moms. But then it continues. Let's go back into this. Honor your mother and your father. So what does that mean? So if you were to put on your Jewish Bible scholar or Jewish rabbi hat, you would look at that and you would be like, so is it just your parents? Is it the people who raised you? Okay. But what if you're raised by your uncle or your aunt? So is it just the people who actually committed a genetic code to your existence? Or is it the people who actually brought you up? Well, no. It would include an aunt or an uncle if they raised you, or a grandparent if they raised you. Okay. So it's whoever raised you. But what about an older sibling? Like what if you just had somebody who's significantly older and your parents died unexpectedly and they brought you up? Should you honor them? Okay, yeah. If they brought you up, so aunts, uncles, grands, and older siblings, anybody who raised you, you just need to honor them. Okay. Wait a minute, so is it just older people in your family? Is it just older siblings or is it all siblings? Please just be older siblings. Well, no. It's going to be all the siblings. All the siblings, even the annoying ones, you should probably honor them too. Oh, okay. And cousins? Yeah, of course, cousins. Okay. You see where this is going? We start teasing out what mother and father means socially, and you start getting this kind of ball of a group of people, kind of like your family. Okay. But what about your friends? Do you need to honor your friends? Well, I don't know. Which one? I mean, Monica, sure, but not Ross. And so they go down that road. Of course, you should honor your friends, but why do you need to be told to honor your friends? I mean, you chose your friends, right? Friends are the family you choose. Is that what we say? I saw it in Hobby Lobby, so I assume it's true. Honoring your friends is easy because you chose to be friends. Now, I'm not saying that all of your friends you always do a good job of honoring, or that all of your friends do a good job of honoring you. But it's a little bit easier because you chose them. But when it comes to your aunts and your uncles and your mom and your dad and your siblings and your cousins, it actually all fills out one big category called unchosen relationships. What the Bible seems to be after in this fifth commandment is unchosen relationships. Those relationships that you did not actually go, no, I want that person in my life. Paul makes this point because Paul will quote this exact verse, Exodus 20:12, in the book of Ephesians. And he'll drop it right in the middle as he's talking about wives and husbands, children and parents, and slaves and masters. And these are all unchosen relationships. Hold on, I know. Yes, we choose our wives and our husbands, don't we? But not in an ancient world. You might have your eye on somebody, and then you would go over to your parents and you'd be like, hey, you see the little goat farmer over there? He's cute. Let's see if we can work a deal. And mom would be like, okay, I'll talk to your dad and see how many sheep we can trade. That's how it worked. It was arranged marriages. And the further you went up in society, the more status you had, the more arranged, the more involved they got. So these aren't actually chosen relationships. These are mostly unchosen. And Paul has a lot of rules, or not rules, a lot of advice about how husbands honor wives, how wives honor husbands. And then he gets right into children and parents. And he will say things like, hey, children, respect your parents. Well, they don't have a choice. They live in a world where parents could still just kill their kids because their kids were disrespectful. Or he told slaves to honor their masters. Well, what choice do you have? The crazy thing about Ephesians 5 and 6, if you're so inclined to read that, is that it tells husbands how to treat wives, how parents to treat children, and how masters to treat slaves. In other words, it's saying, hey, just because you're higher in status socially doesn't mean you get to treat anybody like dirt. You have to treat them as yourself. You have to honor them. These are all unchosen relationships. And I don't know about you, we all have unchosen relationships in our lives. There are people in our lives right now that we did not choose to put there. And they often come in the form of family members. Your overly woke niece, your hyper-conservative uncle. And of course, they're related, right? And the one's on this side and the other's on this side, and you're like, I just want the green beans, you know. And she's like, green beans are fascist. And he's like, whatever. Anyway, we all have those family relationships. We didn't choose them. And some of them are great, and they're healthy, and they're delightful, and they're wonderful. And some of our family members are our most favorite people in our lives, and sometimes they're a little complicated. Or your neighbors. Very few of us get to choose who our neighbors are. And if you get to choose one of them, if your friend moves into a house and the house next door comes up for sale and you can buy it, that's great. You got to choose one. But not this neighbor. Not the neighbor across the street. Not those people. Not those people behind you looking into your house. We don't really get to choose our neighbors. And our coworkers. We don't get to choose the gossip that works in our office. We don't get to choose the guy who's always kissing up to the boss. We don't get to choose that weird guy who mumbles about his stapler. We don't get to choose these people. And oftentimes we don't know what to do with them. Ignore them. Maybe try to buffer from them. Wish they weren't there. By the way, that story where the lawyer asked Jesus, who is my neighbor? He's asking because he has some unchosen relationships in his life, and he wants to know what to do about them because he just kind of wants to ignore them. But according to God, that's not actually the way to freedom.